Welcome, my friends, to the Beggars and Brawlers podcast. This is episode 39, recorded February the 19th of 2022. And today, I have an interview for you with fellow contributor to the Alchemy of Sorrow anthology, which is coming out soon, and rising star in the indie fantasy community in her own right, Krystle Matar. Krystle Matar has been writing for a long time, but things got serious when Tashway Blackwood walked into her life, an amber-eyed whirlwind. When she isn't arguing with him or any of his friends, she parents and farms. She has a lot of children and even more animals and one very excellent husband. She's currently working on lots of stories set in the Dominion. She expects to exist in this universe for a while. Krystle, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Pretty good. I'm on the second cup of coffee, so
Me too. It's looking up from here.
The daughter wanted to wake up at 5:40, so I have been awake for a while. Just, the sleep that preceded it was not super strong.
Yeah, same.
So I got to ask before we get started about the farm. Okay. Do you have vegetables? Do you have animals? What's going on the farm?
Oh, so we have pigs mostly.
Awesome. Yeah.
They're a small breed of pig called Kuni pigs. And so they're only about 200 or 300 pounds rather than, I know, rather than the big giant 800, 900 pounds. And they're very sweet and very cute. And then so we also have some ducks and some geese for eggs.
Yeah.
The ducks are sweet. The geese are less sweet.
We have an infestation,
but they protect the ducks. Yeah.
That's awesome. There's a bunch of Canada geese that winter in Denver, and
they're
probably
thoughts
different breeds,
prayers.
But yeah, they just poop all over all of the parks and bite at you if you get close. I'm like, these are not the geese I was promised.
No, I'm sorry. On behalf of Canada, I apologize for the geese.
It's not your fault. I won't go South Park on you.
That's very kind.
That's awesome. I grew up with pigs too. We raised them when I was young, and that's how I paid for my first Nintendo. My dad gave me a pig.
Oh, cool.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of pig?
I was too young to know. Yep, I just
What color?
They're pretty pinkish, sometimes brownish, blackish spots.
Yep, that narrows it down. There's only a couple of pig breeds.
Yeah. Cool. So we're here to talk about your story in The Alchemy of Sorrow, which is a wonderful story. I get to tease everyone because I have read it in both incarnations.
Both very different incarnations.
Yeah, it's crazy. We were talking before we started recording about your writing process, but the first story was long and it was good. And then based on feedback,
good with an asterisk.
Well, the heart of it was there. And I was just, when I read the second one, I was like, oh my God, she threw out almost all of this, but it's still there as history. And it was super cool. Everything that I loved about the first incarnation is still there, just informing what's happening in the second one. So yeah.
I'm glad to it's neat to see people read both versions. Mm-hmm. I don't think many people have. And just, it's neat to know that it hits so much better. Yeah, once totally I've ripped it apart and rebuilt it.
It totally does. Yeah. Yep, you rip the beating heart out and yeah, I mean, one of the things that I love about this, because it's crazy, because first story we spent a lot of time in Kasani, and we're not there at all in the final version, but it actually feels richer in terms of the culture and stuff because he's reflecting on it. That's one of the things I really love about it is the incense for each of the deities and all the practices that you talk about in there, and the importance of burial rites and who got it and who didn't, and how that feels.
That he's a very natural narrator. He really likes the attention, even if he's suffering a bit. So he was really easy when I gave this assignment to him. He was like, yeah, absolutely. I will wax lyrical about my pain for thousands of words. No problem.
I mean, I get the sense that he's not often not suffering.
No, that's very true. Yeah. He most of the time he does it to himself, but this time at least.
This time at least he had an excuse.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, is he someone who just came to you, or was this a character that you like thought up and designed? Like, how did that work? Because he's so rich and fleshed out and complicated.
He came to me a long time ago. So anyone who's heard me talk about my characters will know that I've been writing about Toshway for a long time. And Ishmael is somebody that kind of walked into one of Toshway's books quite a number of years ago, back before Toshway made the jump to fantasy.
Interesting.
And when we made the jump, I kind of ransacked all my old drafts for characters that would fit in the fantasy setting, and Ishmael was a very eager volunteer. So, and it was interesting to see how much he changed, but also how much he did not change at all. Some of his mannerisms stayed in, and I didn't even notice until I looked back at some of the old stuff. So anyway, yes, he's been around for a long time, but he just had to be kind of customized to the fantasy setting. And he's in Brightwash, and he started out as a very minor character. And Angela Board read an early version of that draft, and by the end of the draft she didn't remember who he was when I said his name. And he and I were both utterly devastated that he was not memorable. So I did a revision on that book just to
she has no idea the power she has over his ego.
He's very easily devastated, I think. But I did a revision just to kind of bring him more to the center and make him more important. And he's quickly becoming a fan favorite. So when it was time to write a short story, he seemed like a natural choice. He seemed like someone that I could trust to give me something under the word count limit, but also something really powerful and raw. So
yeah, totally.
I think he did good.
It is powerful and raw for sure. Yeah. Yeah, that's so I haven't heard you talk about the jump from previous genre to fantasy, but it's crazy for me to imagine, because Ish's situation, like being in diaspora and his relationship to Kasani, it just feels so embedded in the setting and world. Was there a similar backstory for him or cultural position that came with?
Yeah, so originally he was Palestinian. So a lot of the world building that I did for him has roots in kind of that feeling. So full disclosure, my husband is Canadian and Palestinian. So that's where the Arab last name comes from. And so just, talking to him and his family, they made an impact on me.
Totally.
And so Ishmael is kind of my love letter to them and everything that they go through. And so when I pulled him over to fantasy, I knew that feeling had to stay, because it's such an integral part of him, of trying to figure out who he is in a culture that isn't the same as where his parents came from. And I think he's done it beautifully. He's really resonating with people in a way that I didn't expect, but I'm really glad to see.
Yeah. No, yeah. I mean, on first blush, he isn't like easily lovable, right? Which is, nothing to say.
That's who you ask.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah. I mean, I definitely like, so anyways, for me, this doesn't make sense if you haven't read the story, so just read it. But so sympathizable, but like, at the same time, sometimes
he's
like,
a brat.
Okay, you can say it. He's your character.
Yeah, he's a selfish and self-destructive brat, but also he does it because he has a lot of love in his soul, and he never seems to know how to express it well.
Yeah,
and that, I think that's what resonates with people, that he's not doing it to be cruel. He's doing it because he doesn't know how to get attention in a healthy way.
Yeah. I mean, I can identify with that.
Yes.
Look at my toddler.
Yeah, exactly.
So speaking of which, do you want to read us a little something from the story?
Yeah, absolutely. Trying to decide how much to ramble on about the setup. Maybe I won't give any context. Just like Twitter didn't get any context for this.
Yep,
so
just
I'm not going to give any. You were gone longer than I expected. His voice is low and gentle, like he's talking to a spooked horse, and it only makes me feel worse. I had started to worry. It's a long walk up the mountain, Mr. San, I mutter. I know I sound petulant and rude, but I can't help it. I'm tired of crying. I'm so desperately tired of falling apart at the slightest things. I've been crying since the day I found my father, weeping on the inside, my soul crumbling. When my mother was still alive, she used to encourage me to let it go, to weep with her. She didn't like that I hate crying. She always said that it's a Dominion trait, that Kasani men aren't afraid to cry. But I don't recall seeing my father cry. He always just sighed at me. My mother was the sole owner of tears in our family.
Awesome. I love all the stuff that you have in there about his mom, especially the section with the furniture. Anyways, I just keep wanting to go into spoilers. So
so I guess it's not much of a spoiler just to say that he's lost his parents and he's struggling to define himself without them as a link to who he is. And I think we could all kind of relate to trying to figure out who we are in our families and kind of in the world, and how that changes when we lose people. So that's where his story came from, and if it changes or if it's just something that we think has changed, or
if we
I don't know, I haven't figured it out. Yeah, exactly.
Well, it's really funny because I feel like every time we talk about this anthology, we're so excited and we're also kind of like not mournful, but like deep and like, it's a thing, you know?
As a group, we're very joyful and it's been a lot of fun. And but then we try to talk about our themes and all of a sudden the energy just
we get like dour and like we're like so excited about making each other weep and excited to make our readers weep.
There's nothing wrong with us, we're fine.
And all the people who want to read that stuff are just fine too. We've talked a lot about how we just need more of it in fantasy. So,
I definitely agree. And amazing shout out to Virginia for putting it all together, because there's a lot of loss in fantasy that so many fantasy books deal with big conflict where a lot of people die, and so it becomes it should become a safe place to examine what that does to people, but it's hard to find it. So I'm really encouraged to be part of a group that's so determined to just drag it along with them and kind of make their characters reckon with what it's like to lose.
And to see the response, with our Kickstarter funding so fast, like we're not the only ones who want this.
That it did feel like a gamble.
A little bit,
theming an entire anthology around grief.
Right, we're gonna put grief and sorrow in the title. Would you like to get a copy?
and people said absolutely. And
I love grief and sorrow.
Exactly. That was really cathartic, just kind of knowing that it was needed and it was wanted, and nobody knew how to ask for it, but then when we were offering it, they were like, yes, please.
Totally. Well, I'm excited for everyone else to read your story.
Thank you.
I'm like the earliest Kickstarter because I got to read it way back in the day. Where can people go to find you online?
I'm most accessible on Twitter, so that's at Krystle Matar at Twitter. Same handle for Instagram, but I'm not there as much. And then also I have my website, crystlematar.com, but I rarely update it, so it's a little bit out of date.
And I'll put all those links will be in the show notes, so y'all can just look at it and click.
And then of course the Kickstarter.
Of course the Kickstarter, there'll be a link for that too. as of our recording, there are 9 days left. We got to get this podcast out fast.
Yeah.
But if not,
hurry up, jeez.
I know we haven't totally solidified it, but I think sometime in late summer, early fall, it's going to be available to general public.
Yeah, that seems to be what Virginia's saying, that this year certainly. So
yeah. Albeit in less fancy format. If you want the really pretty hardcover with all the really pretty art.
Yeah. Oh, the gorgeous art by Krystle.
Gorgeous art.
Yeah.
I'm still dying for them to write mine or to make mine, but anyway, it'll come.
I know. I'm both excited to watch everybody's come together and like slowly dying of jealousy.
No.
I have to decide if it's going to be a portrait of Ishmael, or I'd really like to see the watches or something like.
Oh, totally.
It's a really important part of his character. So I'm
like
ready. I'm so ready.
A clockwork portrait or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm really interested to see what kind of ideas she comes up with, because she's absolutely brilliant.
It's been amazing so far. Awesome. Well, I think we'll leave it there. Y'all should click that link to the Kickstarter if it's before February 28th. If not, go click the links to find out more of Krystle stuff. She is a rising star. Thank you. It was so nice to talk. And I guess our stories can say hi to each other when they finally appear on the page.
Yes, I'm looking forward to it. Yours was really lovely too. I can't wait.
Well, thanks.
Thank you very much for having me on.